Antiochian Archdiocese of North America Pilgrimage 2025 presents Ancient Paths Enduring Faith, Highlights of the Pilgrimage to Lebanon and Jordan. Saturday, June 14th marked the first full day of the pilgrimage in Jordan, with His Eminence Metropolitan Saba and Archdiocesan seminarians, recent seminary graduates, and clergy. Their escort, Hierodeacon Chrysanthus, told the group, "You can read the Bible anywhere, but here you can see it too." The day began with a visit to the ancient Greco-Roman city of Jerash, renowned for its well-preserved ruins and amphitheater. The group explored the Cardo Maximus, a colonnaded street lined with historical shops and buildings, as well as the early Christian churches scattered throughout the archaeological site. In one church, the group saw a collection of old vestments and icons. From Jerash, the journey moved to Al Hussein for a visit to St. George Church. Afterward, the group proceeded to the archaeological site of Prophet Elias for a midday tour, followed by a visit to the monastery of the Theotokos of the Life-Giving Spring in Debin and the nearby Orthodox Center. In the early evening, His Eminence presided at Great Vespers at Three Hierarchs Church of Debin, which opened last year. Afterward, His Eminence Archbishop Christophoros of Amman welcomed Sayyidina Saba and the pilgrims with an agape meal. On the Sunday of All Saints, June 15th, His Eminence Archbishop Christophoros of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of Amman and His Eminence Metropolitan Saba celebrated the hierarchical divine liturgy at Ascension Church in Khalda, Amman, Jordan. Before the sermon, Archbishop Christophoros welcomed Metropolitan Saba on behalf of His Beatitude Theophilus III, Patriarch of the Holy City of Jerusalem, and the accompanying delegation to Jordan, telling them to consider it their second home. Following the hierarchical divine liturgy, His Eminence Metropolitan Saba and the pilgrims visited the headquarters of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of Amman, St. Nectarios Monastery, and the Orthodox Media Center. On Monday, June 16th, the group visited the St. John the Baptist Trail in the Jordan wilderness, including possible sites where Elijah ascended, an ancient baptismal pool, ancient church sites, and the caves of St. John the Baptist and St. Mary of Egypt. Next, the group arrived at St. John the Baptist Church at the Jordan River as the bells rang again and again for the arrival of the Metropolitan. Entering the church, the group chanted and venerated icons and reliquaries. All chanted at the Jordan River and dipped both hands and prayer ropes into the water at the sacred site. Reascending, the group then visited Mount Nebo with a clear and beautiful view of the Dead Sea, the Qumran Valley, and Jericho. The group entered the preserved ancient church at the top of the mountain, chanting and praising in the site where Moses lifted up the snake in the wilderness. Concluding their time in Jordan and entering Lebanon, the group toured the Balaman French Elementary and High School. Following this, the group toured the Antiochian Orthodox Media Center of the Patriarchate of Antioch and all the East. The group then met with the president of the University of Balaman, Dr. Elias Wadak. On Wednesday, June 18th, the group visited Saidet El Nouria, the Lady of Light Monastery in Hamat, which included the ancient cliffside Annunciation Chapel overlooking the Mediterranean Sea. It's dedicated to the Theotokos, who appeared to sailors in danger at sea and guided them to shore with a divine light. Following this, the group traveled to St. Simeon Monastery for divine services, where His Eminence greeted Abbess Porphyria, exchanging gifts of patronal icons. While there, the group visited St. Paisio's chapel and listened to Mother Porphyria, who shared personal stories of her monastic life, encouraging the group to, quote, read books of Emilianos of Simenopetra. At the conclusion, icons of St. Simeon were distributed to all. To conclude the day, the group participated in a choir practice with the famed choir of the Orthodox Archdiocese of Tripoli. On June 19th, their third full day in Lebanon, the group toured Beirut. The first stop was St. George Cathedral, the oldest active church in Beirut, where the group was welcomed by Father Romanos Gibran and Father Philip Said. They explored the downtown cathedral and its underground museum, home to Roman ruins, Byzantine mosaics, and ancient baptistries. Continuing, the group visited His Eminence Metropolitan Elias of Beirut at his chancery. A St. Vladimir Seminary alumnus and former priest in New York, Metropolitan Elias spoke of hope as the source of Christian joy. Next, the group toured St. George Hospital, meeting CEO Dr. Zied Haidar. Following this, the group attended a lecture by His Excellency Tarek Mitri, Deputy Prime Minister of Lebanon.
Within Beirut, there's a parish called St. Demetrius Orthodox Church. They have ministry after ministry after ministry. What I walked away with was ultimately a vision, not of what I should be, perhaps where I should be starting.
For their final stop of the day, the group enjoyed a beautiful concert featuring youth singers from Beirut's Orthodox schools. The performance included beloved songs by the Rabbani brothers, offering a moving close to a day filled with faith, beauty, and community. On June 20th, the group visited the dormition of the Theotokos Monastery in Kaftoun. The group was received by Mother Lucia, who knew Sayyidina Saba from his days as a seminarian. Following this, the group continued north to Tripoli for a visit with His Eminence Metropolitan Ephraim of Tripoli at the Archdiocese headquarters. On June 21st, the group visited the St. Jacob the Persian Monastery, nestled in the hills outside Balamand. The monastery's founders were deeply active in the Orthodox youth movement. On June 21st, the group was received in audience by His Beatitude Patriarch John X at Balamand Monastery. He expressed great joy at seeing the pilgrims in Lebanon and warmly recalled his visit in 2023 for the Archdiocese Convention in Arizona. On Sunday morning, June 22nd, His Eminence Metropolitan Saba ordained Subdeacon Justin Olmsted to the Holy Diaconate at St. Sergius and Bacchus Church in Kuzba, Lebanon. Next, the group toured the town and visited the nearby church of St. George. In the afternoon, the pilgrims made their way south to the shrine of Our Lady of Lebanon in Harissa. Set high above the coastline, the shrine offered a breathtaking vista of the Mediterranean Sea. Monday, June 23rd, began with a stop at the majestic cedars of Lebanon, where they walked among some of the oldest living trees in the country. These ancient cedar trees, evoked so often in Scripture, served as a living icon of God's strength and permanence. Next, the group visited the Maronite Monastery of St. Anthony of Kojaya. The morning of Tuesday, June 24th, began with Orthros and hierarchical divine liturgy at St. John the Baptist Monastery in Duma, celebrated for the feast of the Nativity of the Forerunner. His Eminence Metropolitan Saba concelebrated with their Eminences Metropolitan Silouan of Mount Lebanon and Metropolitan Antonios of Zachle, in the presence of the seminarians, recent seminary graduates, clergy, and the many pilgrims who had gathered for the monastery's patronal feast. A highlight of the visit was meeting with Mother Miriam and Father Tuma, the spiritual children of Saint Sophrony the Athonite. Later in Duma, the group toured the Metropolitan Anthony Bashir Museum and several of Duma's historic Orthodox churches, including the churches of the Dormition, St. George, and St. Elias, each one bearing the marks of centuries of prayer. Later in the day, the group both toured the Balamand and was received by Metropolitan Antonius of Zahle, Baalbek, and dependencies for an audience and conversation. He spoke about the life of his archdiocese and highlighted cultural and pastoral realities in the region that are important for clergy and seminarians from North America to understand. The day concluded with a Paraclesis service and a Trisagian service in Dormition Church at Balaman Monastery, led by Sayyidina Saba and Sayyidina Antonios, offered for the survivors and surviving family members and the new martyrs following the attack on Prophet Elias Church. On June 26, the day began in the mountain village of Beskinta with a visit to the monastery of the Holy Archangel Michael. There the group was received by Archimandrite Johanna, who offered a spiritual reflection and conversation. The day ended with dinner at the home of Nijad and Zaina Ferris, where the group was joined by member of the Lebanese Parliament, Dr. Ghassan Skaff. On June 27th, the group gathered in the Church of the Dormition at Balaman Monastery for a special recording session with the renowned Choir of Tripoli. June 28th began with a visit to St. George Church in Brumana, where the group met with His Eminence Metropolitan Silouan of the Archdiocese of Mount Lebanon, who offered a thorough overview of his archdiocese, sharing insights into its history, structure, and pastoral life. In the afternoon, the group traveled to meet with members of the mission group of the Orthodox youth movement from South Lebanon and Bekaa. The day concluded at St. George Church in Salim, where the group attended Great Vespers for the feast for the saints Peter and Paul, the patrons and protectors of the Church of Antioch. On June 29th, Metropolitan Saba ordained Simon Najim to the holy priesthood. On June 30th, the group journeyed to Our Lady of Deliverance Church in Byblos, Jabil. Afterwards, the group toured the Byblos Citadel and nearby ruins. In the evening, Dr. Ghassan Skaff, member of the Lebanese Parliament, hosted His Eminence and the pilgrims for dinner. On July 1st, the pilgrims trekked up a steep mountain path to Dormition of the Theotokos Monastery in Hamatura, built into the side of a cliff and surrounded by quiet forests and rugged rock. The highlight of the visit included venerating the skull of the holy hieromartyr Saint Jacob of Hamatura. The group also had the opportunity to venerate the skull of a 5-year-old child martyr, as well as 3 additional hieromonks. After lunch, the group was received by Archimandrite Jacob for a conversation on the spiritual life. Speaking plainly and with depth, he told the pilgrims, "The first step is to know that you are weak, and then Christ will be there." His words left a lasting impression, simple, honest, and deeply rooted in the life of prayer.
No.